Yes, Miss Anna. Buenos dias and good afternoon, everyone. To all our participants and viewers in the third Jornadas ELE Manila, and on behalf of the Department of Education, I'll be your session moderator and will introduce our speaker for the fifth webinar. So if you will have questions about the discussion, please use the question and answer tab and key in your questions and we will direct them to our speaker after her presentation. Without further ado, let me introduce our speaker for this session. So our speaker will present the importance of teaching ELE through virtual learning using Google Classroom and printed modular to make learning interactive and engaging. She is a master teacher too at Agusan National High School Division of Butuan City, Caraga Region. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English and minor in Physical Education from the Father Saturnino Urios University, Butuan City, Philippines. From the same university, she also completed academic requirements of Master of Arts in Educational Management. She worked with the Department of Education for 30 years as a secondary school teacher, and prior to that, she worked for 2 years in the private schools. She was awarded one of the outstanding teachers in the first public school she served. She is also a winning coach for cosplay and oratorical contests in the special program in foreign language during the annual conduct of the DepEd National Festival of Talents. She was a campus paper advisor for a couple of years, and also she has been a resource person for different subjects related to journalism, coaching, and mentoring teaching programs. Unfortunately, she was a recipient of a short-term scholarship program at the University of Salamanca in 2011 with the collaboration of the Department of Education and the Ministry of Spain. Likewise, she passed the DLE B1 level. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a virtual round of applause to Ms. Gimma de Chavez.
Marzo de 2020. El mundo se puso patas arriba. Dicho esto, tenemos momentos malos en la vida. Hola todos. El año 2020 será recordado como uno de los más desafiantes en la historia de educación. Los estudiantes han sufrido crisis importantes a lo largo del tiempo que ocurren simultáneamente y rara vez, si es que alguna vez las han experimentado. Primero, COVID-19 amenazó la salud de los estudiantes y sus familiares. Esto condujo a una recesión económica repentina a medida que se implementaron las órdenes de quedarse en casa a nivel nacional. La educación en todos los ámbitos ha experimentado cambios drásticos en la entrega del aprendizaje. La transición a la entrega de aprendizaje virtual o modular se ha producido rápidamente y ha presentado una serie de desafíos novedosos, tanto para profesores y a los estudiantes, junto con una amplia gama de cambios en el estilo de vida que pueden afectar la salud mental. Claramente, la transición al aprendizaje y la evaluación virtuales o a distancia conlleva ventajas y desventajas. La pandemia mundial trajo tanta preocupación, ansiedad e incertidumbre, como perdería también mi trabajo como muchos otros. Es posible brindar educación en medio de la pandemia. Estas y más son algunas de mis muchas dudas personales durante estos tiempos difíciles. Una de las mejores cosas que me ha sucedido durante esta pandemia es mi viaje de enseñanza de español como lengua extranjera a través de la modalidad de aprendizaje en línea o virtual, utilizando la plataforma Google Classroom y el uso de la entrega modular impresa de educación para mis compañeros de ELE, profesor en la escuela a la que pertenezco. Hoy, permítanme compartirlo con todos ustedes.
Join me as I share with you the importance of teaching ELE through virtual learning using the Google Classroom and printed modular as alternatives to face-to-face instruction to make learning interactive and engaging.
The learning objectives of this talk are recognize the importance of Google Classroom and printed self-learning modules to help foster an engaging and interactive teaching and learning of the Spanish language. Second, ensure SPFL learning opportunities to support communication, collaboration, creativity, and student choice. Educational systems worldwide has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to the near total closures of schools and colleges. Most governments around the world have temporarily closed educational institutions in order to restrain the spread of COVID-19. Relative to this, the Department of Education stressed that education must continue even in the times of crisis, whether it may be a calamity, disaster, emergency, quarantine, or even war. This requires all elements of education to adapt and to continue the teaching and learning process. In the trying times of the pandemic, the learning environment can be anywhere, at any time, and at a pace that is comfortable for students. When students are given choices in how to show what they have learned, they're more likely to be engaged and excited for learning. They will feel valued. The lesson and learning will be more meaningful because it has been made personal to them. Students can look for and interact with resources that meet their own needs, and teachers can use these resources to find out what the student needs are. With the many ways to assess students using digital tools today, data is available instantly, allowing teachers to provide feedback to students when they need it the most. And yes, there are digital tools to carry out the situation by which this talk would tackle. In this context, DepEd embarked on the development of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan to enable learners of basic education to continue learning and for teachers to be able to deliver instruction in a safe work and learning environment amid the threat of COVID-19. United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, and the Department of Education for schools across the country ensure that children and adolescents can learn in the best possible conditions wherever they are, whether they are learning from home or at school.
As emphasized by the Department of Education Secretary Leonor Martulis Briones, no learner must be left behind.
In this regard, DepEd conducted series of webinars to help upskill and equip Filipino educators with the integration of educational technology. These trainings have helped much the teachers in addressing the new normal educational setup. According to the Undersecretary of Education, Alin Del Pascua, in the Philippines, we have been innovating and implementing programs such as the use of TV, radio, the use of different authoring tools for the development of open educational resources, OER, and the use of different learning management systems. All of these education technology tools are being scaled up at a rate that has never been seen in our country and around the world. One of these educational tools being adapted is the use of the online educational platform, Google Classroom, which allows teams connect, create, and collaborate. During home-based learning, there are several methods in carrying out the learning process. Some can share information by WhatsApp, video call through Zoom or Google Meet, and other online learning platforms. There are so many digital classes, aimed at teaching learning processes such as Kahoot, Edmodo, and the very popular now Google Classroom that combines both online, synchronous and asynchronous, and offline strategies to ensure accessibility and flexibility in learning.
As a teacher of this special program with foreign language, I want to teach in such a way that students will be equipped with the necessary skills that will enable them to perform in real life while actively engaging and interacting in a learning environment.
The goal of my school is to teach students to perform after they leave high school, anchored on the Department of Education Curriculum and Instruction, entitled Curriculum Guides and Most Essential Learning Competencies for the Special Curricular Programs, intended for the implementing schools of the SCPs, which includes, of course, the Special Program in Foreign Language, thereby helping the students to continuously learn in the absence of face-to-face classes. Per experience, Google Classroom platform is a user-friendly online tool for SPFL virtual learning. On the other hand, printed self-learning modules equally facilitates self-directed learning. At this point, let me discuss further how the two learning modalities come into play in the course of distance learning. Here's the thing. Would you agree that the teachers of all content areas find virtual instruction not ideal? In a communicative, dynamic world language class, teaching remotely seemed especially daunting. How do I ensure that my students are gaining proficiency in the language through a computer screen? After much contemplation and acceptance of the fact that virtual learning simply was not going to be the same as in the classroom, I knew that I needed to make the best of the situation for my students. I could not change the reality. It was time to get creative and design meaningful and immersive interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational tasks for our virtual environment. I considered the 4 language domains: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. I felt that I needed to create an interesting virtual classroom. I needed technology platforms that would support these ends and wanted to use tools my students already knew. The webinar series on ICT, particularly on using or utilizing the Google Suite, really aided me to survive my SPFL class amid the pandemic. Here's what I did. Giving my students opportunities to read in the target language is a constant goal of mine. If you aim to use authentic resources in your classes and expose your students to infographics, advertisements, or news articles in the target language, there are several online tools and platforms that can help develop efficiency of the language. I share to the students web links of resources for them to navigate, to read and review through DepEd Learning Portal or Learning Resource Management System or through our very own School Online Resource Center. At some point, I use online voice recorder app to help develop the language listening comprehension skills. The website and application is a convenient and simple online tool that can be used right in your browser. It allows me to record my voice using a microphone or even without, and save it as an MP3 or MP4 file. I can launch the recorder while teaching from Google Slides. I also create a corresponding activity in which students respond to questions or take notes as they listen to the lesson. In addition, students can conveniently pause or replay the recorded voice file if they need to hear something twice. This activity usually happens during formative assessment and evaluation phase of the lesson, which I post and save in the Google Class Drive. I typically take a video from YouTube and other online credible ELE websites for listening, speaking, and reading skills, which I would post in the Google Classwork as assignment and instructional material for the students to read and review. It ensures that students view the entire video before answering the questions via Google Classwork.
As the performance outputs, I recall requiring the SPFL learners to create their own blog within a span of time and let them turn it in the Google Drive.
Vlogging using Filmora, KineMaster, and other film or video production tools allows students to share ideas and demonstrate knowledge without the confidant of text, such as creating a vlog on their daily routine or Rutina Diaria, popularly known now in YouTube as A Day in My Life, applying the learning competency on expressing a student's thoughts and feelings of her personal experiences. Per observation, not all students are great writers, and by allowing students to use a blog for a project or performance output can give that student the ability to demonstrate what they know and confidence to do it in a way that they feel the most comfortable. Vlog increases students' encouragement in speaking. Vlog can provide fun and enjoyable learning process, and it can build confidence. The students' vlog group output is submitted via Google Class Drive. Also, I do conduct virtual oral interaction, such as reciting the El Abecedario for SPFL grade 7 students, eyes blindfolded just to make sure they are not looking at a copy. Then, for SPFL grade 10, I require the learners to produce a video clip of an advertisement on how to stay safe and healthy during the pandemic. I could feel that my students not only have developed confidence, but also teamwork or collaboration. Above all, they find the activity engaging while enhancing their ICT knowledge and skills. If you are able to provide synchronous instruction to your students, try having some spontaneous conversations in the target language via a video conference on the Google Meet or Zoom. This allows for a two-way conversation on the spot and again mimics a real-time or a real-life task. Another idea: connect students with another class and set up a virtual pen pal program. You can assign different topics for the students to focus on in their emails, or they can freely converse. Typing an email in the target language is yet another realistic, authentic, useful task. Another shareable virtual tool to Google Classroom is Canva. Canva is a fantastic tool for learning. Educators can use it to present material to students in a visual manner, and students can use it to articulate new concepts in a clear and intuitive way.
One of the best things about Canva is that it allows the learners to take visual learning to a new level. Students and teachers can become design thinkers, meaning we can become skilled at imagining and creating solutions to problems rather than identifying existing ones.
For assessment, I take the privilege of using Online Quizzes app. It is an online assessment tool that allows teachers and students to create and use one another's quizzes. After providing students with a unique access code, a quiz can be presented live as a timed competition or used for homework with a specific deadline. After the quizzes have been completed, students can review their answers. Furthermore, the resulting data is compiled into a spreadsheet to give the instructor a clear visual of the student's performance. in order to analyze trends in which areas might need the most focus in the future. This immediate feedback can be used by teachers to revise future learning activities and alter the focus of material by putting a larger emphasis on concepts that students are struggling with. Virtual instruction might not be our preference, but it still holds value and can be done meaningfully using online digital tools. It is possible to expose our students to the language and to engage them online. Until we are reunited with our students in our physical classroom spaces, it is essential that we make the most of these challenging circumstances. Here's an input what Google Classroom is all about. Google Classroom aims to simplify creating, distributing, and grading assignments. The primary purpose of Google Classroom is to streamline the process of sharing files between teachers and students. It enables teachers to create an online classroom area in which they can manage all the documents that their students need. Documents are stored on Google Drive and can be edited in Drive's apps, such as Sheets, Google Docs for crafting SPFL summative tests, for example. Check or edit reading outputs for teachers or students, comments and suggestions, and so on. Within the Google Classroom, students and teachers can have conversations about the assignments, and teachers can track the students' progress. Besides, Google Classroom was used to facilitate the interaction of a professor or teacher with a student or student in the virtual world. Google Classroom also minimizes the costs incurred due to the use of more affordable stationery and other materials, and can minimize time-released energy. In short, the time and energy spent by Google Classroom users will be lesser than the usual. This platform can be one solution to complete the teaching learning process while the school still cannot be opened. It provides students to be independent, engaged, and motivated because most of young learners tend to use technology in their daily life. What are the benefits of Google Classroom for SPFL? As a free online learning platform, Google Classroom offers several benefits for students and teachers. Here's 10 reasons why teachers should give it a try. First, accessibility. Google Classroom can be accessed from any computer, via Google Chrome, or from any mobile device regardless of platform. All files uploaded by teachers and students are stored in Classroom folder on Google Drive. Users can access Classroom anytime, anywhere. Students no longer have to worry about crashed computers or hungry dogs. Second benefit, exposure. Classroom provides students with exposure to an online learning system. Many college and university programs now require students to enroll in at least one online class. Exposure to Google Classroom may help students transition into other learning management systems used in higher education. Another benefit, paperless. Teachers and students won't have excessive amounts of paper to shuffle since Classroom is completely paperless. When teachers upload assignments and assessments to Classroom, they are simultaneously saved to Drive. Students can complete assignments and assessments directly through Classroom, and their work is also saved to Drive. Students can access missed work due to absences and locate other resources they may need. Another benefit, time saver. Classroom is a huge time saver. With all resources saved in one place and the ability to access Classroom anywhere, teachers will have more free time to complete other tasks. Since Classroom can be accessed from a mobile device. Teachers and students can participate through their phones or tablets. Next benefit, communication. Built-in tools make communicating with students and parents a breeze. Teachers and students can send emails, post to the stream, send private comments and assignments, and provide feedback on work. Teachers have full control over student comments and posts. They can also communicate with parents through individual emails or through classroom email summaries, which include class announcements and due dates. Collaborate. Classroom offers several ways for students to collaborate. Teachers can facilitate online discussions between students and create group projects within the classroom. In addition, students can collaborate on Google Docs, which have been shared by the teacher. Engagement. Most digital natives are comfortable with technology and will be more apt to take ownership in their learning through use of technology. Classroom offers numerous ways to make learning interactive and collaborative. It offers teachers the ability to differentiate assignments, include videos and web pages into lessons, and create collaborative group assignments. Differentiation. Through Classroom, teachers are easily able to differentiate instruction for learners. Assigning lessons to the whole class, individual students, or groups of students takes just a few simple steps when creating an assignment on the classwork page. Feedback. Providing meaningful feedback to students is a valuable part of all learning. Within the grading tool of Classroom, teachers can send feedback to each student on assignments. The ability to create a common bank for future use is also available within the grading tool. In addition, the Classroom mobile app allows users to annotate work. Data analysis. In order to make learning meaningful, teachers should analyze data from assessments to ensure students are understanding learning objectives. Data from assessments can easily be exported into sheets for sorting and
On the matter of printed modular delivery of education, DepEd ensures the continuity of learning amidst COVID-19 pandemic through modular distance learning called MDL. Learners use self-learning modules, SLM, based on the most essential learning competencies, MELCs, provided by the DepEd.
distance learning refers to a learning delivery modality where learning takes place between the teacher and the learners who are geographically remote from each other during instruction. In our country, the MDL is the most popular type of DL. This learning modality is currently used by all public schools because, according to a survey conducted by DepEd, 8.8 million parents preferred MDL. Learning through printed modules emerged as the most preferred distance learning method of parents with children who are enrolled this academic year. This is also in consideration of the learners in rural areas where internet is not accessible for online learning. Each SPFL SLM contains the learning competencies that should be learned by the learners. It contains an activity which aims to check what the learners already know about the lesson. It includes drill or review to help the learners link the current lessons with the previous one. There is a portion which introduces the new lesson. It also has a brief discussion of the lesson and activities for independent practice. It contains tasks to help the learners evaluate their level of mastery in achieving the learning competency. It has an activity which aims to enrich the learner's knowledge or skill of the lesson learned. The last part contains the answers to all the activities in the module. The use of modules encourages independent study. One of the benefits of using modules for instruction is the acquisition of better self-study or learning skills among students. Students engage themselves in learning the concepts presented in the module. They develop a sense of responsibility in accomplishing the task provided in the module, with little or no assistance from others. The learners progress on their own. The teacher takes the responsibility of monitoring the progress of the learners. The learners may ask assistance from the teacher via email, text message, or messenger chat. Where possible, the teacher shall do home visits to learners needing remediation or assistance. The printed modules are distributed weekly to the parents or guardians by the teachers in school. Students are tasked to complete the activities and submit their outputs at the end of the week. Since education is no longer held within the school, parents serve as partners of teachers in education. The DepEd is in the process of adapting to the new normal form of education through the MDL at present, and continuous innovations of educators and active involvement of other stakeholders are the driving force for its success.
Despite the challenges to the unprecedented shift to distance learning, the Department of Education said the class opening has been a success.
Truly, the greatest invention of man is technology.
Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. And remember, the biggest mistake we could make is not moving.
Goodbye, March 2020. Goodbye, virus. Hello, tomorrow.
That completes the story of my SPFL teaching learning journey with Google Classroom. This has been your friend Gimma saying, hasta la próxima, Beth. Ciao!
Just gracias, Ms. De Chavez. Now, surely after your presentation, our participants may now apply engaging pedagogical approaches in teaching Spanish using different distance learning modalities. So true to the DepEd's call, education must continue in time of crisis. Now, this time for our participants, the floor is now open for your questions or clarifications. So you may key in your questions in the chat box. Seems that all praises Ma'am Gimma. So our participants are congratulating you.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias, Dr. Mikael.
So our participants may be overwhelmed on how you were able to incorporate both online and distance learning materials or modalities. Now, there's a question from Solis Joseph. Where can I access Spanish SPFL SLM online?
Okay, that question about where can I access SPFL online? There are so many platforms that offer virtual learning, so it's not a worry, especially that the teacher is into the use of gadgets. Then, and also DepEd itself, through the EduTech, educational technology managed by Christopher C. I am so happy that DepEd EduTech has offered a lot of virtual trainings, webinars, and prior to the opening of classes. So we had already an idea on how to go about the virtual learning procedure. So now, what was that asking, doctor? So that's how we did it. That's how I did it. prior to the opening, I had already an idea on how I could manage or how I could continue teaching procedure to my learners, to the clients, to our students.
Very much, Ma'am Gimma. Now, so there's another question. Aside from the feedback mechanisms mentioned, are you able to give personal one-on-one feedback to your learners?
Well, this is a good question. Now, our movement at this time of the pandemic is very limited, and that we are not really allowed to go to the house. There is a protocol for this by the IATF, and DepEd itself is protecting the safety and the health of the teachers, as well as the students and the community. So we might as well have or encourage that we could have a chat or text. What we have to do is to send messages, contact them, communicate with them, constant communication, religious communication with the students involved needing assistance or needing our concern or needing our attention, special attention.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Gimma. So yung feedback is important in the teaching and learning process. And as Ma'am Gimma have said, she utilizes both virtual and analog communications to the learners as DepEd and the different local government units tried to provide communication access to all our learners.
Exactly, Dr. Mikael.
So Miss Javier Maria is asking, so how can how can they access the shared SLMs, the self-learning modules?
Yes, that's another good question. SLMs are provided by DepEd which are being delivered to the regional offices, protocol from the central office down to scaffolding of the materials, self-learning materials to the regional level, then to the division level, and of course to the grassroots, the schools. And there is a schedule, particular schedule given on the distribution as well as the retrieval, regularly observed. And of course, again, let me emphasize that the IETF guidelines should have to be, and our school is really indeed following those protocols.
So in addition, our regional supervisors are in close coordination with the central office regarding the self-learning modules provided by our program partners, particularly the Instituto Cervantes de Manila and the Spanish Embassy. Now, in question, is MELC for SPFL for strict compliance? Yes, we are in use of MELCs as of this moment, right, Ma'am Gimma?
Yes, there is a floated MELC of the SCPs for the special curricular programs, specifically for our program, also that all the language or all the curricular programs are in there. The MELCs, the most essential learning competencies, they are designed. This MELC is designed, or MELCs are designed, particularly in this time of pandemic. Any more questions?
So, in as much as we wanted to accommodate all your questions, but we are bounded by time. So if you would have any questions, you may chat or message Ma'am Gimma de Chavez or the Department of Education for the SPFL concerns. So Ma'am Ana Sibayan had keyed in the chat box the attendance for this webinar, and may we request all of our participants to click the attendance link so that you will be able to, or you'll be able to signify that you're present during this presentation. So once again, thank you very much, everyone. And our next webinar will resume after a short break. Once again, congratulations. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Dr. Mikael.